Time is 6:30, according to my watch, so we will get the Finance Administration Committee meeting going. As you know, Sue is in Topeka today. Lawrence is in Wichita, so Ward 1 will not have any voice today. But so I'm sitting in as the Vice Chair for Sue.
Very fine. I'm going to make a point of order.
Yes, sir.
Sue is Chair,
Correct.
and I'm supposed to be Vice Chair of this committee and have been ever since I was appointed to it. And therefore, I'm going to bring that to that attention and go right ahead.
Hey, John, you're certainly more than welcome to chair the meeting.
No,
She had come to me.
I'm not going to do it now because I don't like that last minute dump on stuff. I like to know ahead of time.
Understood.
So I can prepare for it.
Sure. All right. First item on the agenda this evening is bond ordinance to issue GO bonds 2011A.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were vice chair either, John. I
That's not your
apologize.
fault. Hey, there's 8 people on that governing body council, and they get the whole thing too. Everybody gets it.
I will say too, John, I
Well,
completely.
That's what I say. It's time we start reading some of our mail, people.
Unintentional. So Mr. Scanlon, item number 1, bond ordinance to issue GO bonds 2011A.
Yeah, there's actually several documents related to this in the packet. The first is a summary that Ellers does sort of the issue, and they talk about typically issue sizing in terms of what it is. And it was originally a little over $5 million, and now it's down to $4,440,000, the issuance size. They talk about the structure in terms of how it's going to be repaid, what the principal and interests are. The next set of documents are those that are done by the Bond Council. The Bond Council is the group that makes sure that the bonds follow the requirements of Kansas State statute, Security Exchange Commission, and they make sure that they're tax exempt. And that becomes important for the bondholders. Bond Council really doesn't represent the city, they represent the bondholders. And so their opinion, which is part of the issuance, is what bondholders use to make sure that they're tax exempt and they don't have to pay. In the case of a Kansas resident, both state and federal income tax, so they're double tax exempt in Kansas. The ordinance prescribes the statutes. The resolution talks about the delivery. It also talks about things like call provisions and when call provisions can be triggered. It talks about how the security is recorded. Almost everything that's done now is recorded electronically through the DTC. And that's sort of become universal over the last 10 to 15 years. The actual person that pays our principal and interest payments, we make a payment to the Kansas treasurer, and they are the agents for the city when we make principal and interest payments. So all of our payments go to the state of Kansas, and the state of Kansas treasurer is the one that makes the payments. And that's it. We expect to take bids next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And the rates that I think Bruce was using were somewhere between 1 and maybe 1.752%. There's an early call. There's a larger principal payment for 2014 that you saw in the issue of about $2.3 million. $1.5 million of that is CARS reimbursement, but we put in a call so that if we can get the project completed, the inspections finalized, and the county to bless off on all the pieces, we get our reimbursement. We can call the bonds a year ahead of time and actually reduce that interest expense that you see in 2014. Now, the total interest expense for this issue over 5 years is $244,000. The effective rate will be somewhere about 1.5 to maybe 1.6 in terms of percentage rates.
Comment?
Yeah, questions?
What fund are we using, which are non-bond funds, to pay Prairie Village's part up front?
Capital improvement.
Why is it Prairie Village isn't paying us up front?
Because we agreed with, when we asked Prairie Village, because this project was, if they could pay it over, that would work for us.
in order to get our repayment back, because they have no money to actually do this project. It is not in their 5-year or 10-year capital improvement plan.
Out there either.
Yeah, but, I mean, you know, I look at it this way. They're going to end up having to maintain 2/3 of the street for the life of the project, and that seems to be a small price to pay in relationship to having them be able to pay us some money over time.
So what kind of vehicle do we have in place for them to pay that over 10 years?
We just send them a bill at the beginning of the year.
So they pay annually, or they'll pay monthly, or?
Pay annually.
And Mike, what's the portion of Prairie Villages?
165,000.
10 years. And Prairie Village pays us no interest, correct?
No. But it's the same arrangement that we have with Overland Park. Overland Park allowed us to do traffic signals for 5 years and you take interest on traffic signals.
That's the second largest city in the state.
Yeah, but they've loaned us a lot more money than Prairie Villages will loan Prairie Village.
Other questions from Mike, Mr. Walton?
Mike, the original 5.5 million, I believe, correct? Originally, and just exactly what kind of a benefit are we supposed to get out of this by dropping this down to 4.4 million?
Well, the first benefit you get is that it was at a little over 5 million was the bond issue. It's that interest expense that you don't pay on that 600,000.
Yeah. And I highlighted that the same thing like Debbie did. 165,000 for Prairie Village for 10 years. That's 16,000 roughly. I sure as hell would hope it they'll put them into bankruptcy.
I don't think it will.
And another thing, did we ever get a figure yet on what the overlay construction is going to cost us? The meeting I went to last week, Knoll Avenue Street project, bid.
Construction inspection?
No, the bid to do the job. Received for the contract to do the job. At last meeting, we come out last week on January 28th. They put in here $3,279,326.13 to $4,480,000.
Right.
Okay, so if it's on the high side of that bid, then I got a hell of a problem with that.
Well, it is.
Because for one thing, we've already, and I believe that if I'm not mistaken, then you take that 4 million, and I believe the Olson Group is going to get $339,343. And then I did a little paperwork over the weekend and put together some stuff. And this is also pertaining directly to Knoll Avenue. And we got the Knoll Avenue temp easements, we got the Knoll Avenue agreement easements, we got Latham engaged thing, and which comes to a total of roughly $13,000 there. I mean, if it's on the high side of the bid, where in the hell are we going to get the rest of the money to pay for this?
Well, it isn't on the high side of the bid. The actual bid that we will take will be about 3.4 million, because what we did is we went through all the bids, make sure that their quantities were correct, see if they've missed anything, and once we basically perfected all of the bids to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, the winning bid is somewhere around 3.45 million. So it's not going to be that 4 number, it's going to be really close to that 3.2 number. So that's the actual
Well, it'd been
cost of
nice, you know, if we could get some of that information even tonight. I know I can understand last week, but there's been a whole week. Now, maybe the rest of you know how much the bids were for, but I didn't. And I was trying to fit this thing in to where we can at least break even with it instead of what the heck's going on. But it seems like we got to go to a meeting someplace in order to find out what's going on.
Now, when you get your packet on Friday, there'll be a letter from Kevin as it relates to the winning bidder in terms of perfecting the bid and making sure that we have the right quantities. And so there's that number, there's the construction inspection number, there's the easements, there's the bond issuance costs, there's reimbursement for the design costs, and the total of the issue and the total cost is 4.44 plus the 165,000 that's Prairie Village. And the 165,000 Prairie Village Could go up or down, because we're still looking at the quantities on the food side. So that number could, go up or down, let's say $10,000 or $15,000.
Now, did we do the obtaining of the easements on their side too?
No. Prairie Village did their side.
They did their side and we did ours. We had nothing to do over there.
Right. Keith Greenhoff is the one that's doing the easement acquisitions for Prairie Village.
We have an agreement in principle with Prairie Village on possible Old Bridge.
What other questions do we have for Mike? And John, I have not received any information on, I don't think we've released the name of the bidder yet.
No.
And all that we had been shared with the community development was what you said was a range. And there was an indication that probably the three bids on the lower side were going to be vetted and reviewed.
Correct.
But we haven't received any confirmation, so I mean, good questions to know.
Well, it'd be nice before, we got to make a final
Sure.
decision, in my opinion.
Understood. Any points well taken. Other questions? So look for a recommendation from...
I recommend we take it to the council.
Okay.
Debbie.
Okay.
Not on consent,
Sure.
though.
It won't, it'll be up under that separate.
Thank you.
All right, so 3-0 under the general obligation.